Hello and welcome to Creativity Matters. I'm Ms. Rebecca Healy and I am the Trust Head of Careers at Chingford Academies Trust. We are the sponsored voiceover for this wonderful programme led and brought to you by Waltham Forest Cultural Education Partnership in conjunction with A New Direction and Waltham Forest, as well as further education partners from within the Waltham Forest area. Today's session is part 1, but there is part 2, and we've broken it up because there's quite a lot to get through and we don't want to overwhelm you with all this new information. Some of it won't be all new, but we've tried to make it current and really interesting in the sense of what it means to you and also the value towards your community, which is Waltham Forest and beyond. So, in essence, this series of workshops is about creativity and what that means in the workplace, why it matters to you as well as the workplace, and what value does creativity actually have for you as a person and for your onward destination beyond secondary school. A little bit about the labour market information in the sense of creativity as an industry. 1 in 8 businesses are in the creative industry. And not only that, creativity regularly is now named as one of the top 3 desirable skills for future jobs. It's no longer just within that top 10 skills list. We're talking about top 3. So, what are the creative industries and workplaces you already know about? Write down 5 areas of business or companies, maybe even the brands, that you think are creative. So what are creative roles? Well, by no means are these 3 tiles an exhaustive list of all of the different roles that are creative. They just give you a little bit of a taste and an introduction to the possibilities. But really, what you need to understand is that yes, there is a creative sector and industry, and yes, there are creative roles, but creativity as an actual skill influences and has a role and part to play in nearly everything we do. So, when it comes to thinking about future destinations, what you may wish to study, what you may wish to learn, what you may wish to apply for, whether it be workplace or further education and higher education, have a think about what sector and industry you want to work within. Because remember, you may be an accountant that happens to work in a TV studio, or a HR administrator that works within a construction or civil engineering team. So it's really important to appreciate creativity, whether it's a skill, a role, an industry, or the wider sector. Which area of creativity do you think makes the most money in the UK? Do you think it's 1, music, 2, TV and film, 3, IT, software and games? I know what my answer is. I'll give you a few seconds to guess. Well, those of you who guessed number 3, you're correct. 45 million is generated by IT, software and the gaming industry in the UK alone. In total, creative industries contribute to 111.7 billion a year. Now these are the latest stats, and yes, they were created in 2018. But even so, it just gives you a really good picture of how much money can be created from taking an idea and making it happen. So let's bring this back a little locally towards ourselves. We are in Waltham Forest and it has the fastest employment growth rate in London at 30% compared to the London average of 14% within the creative area of industry. Digital and creative have been the fastest growing sector within Waltham Forest, 40% over 5 years. This exceeds other areas like construction and retail. So with all of that incredible growth happening so local within London to us, it's really important that you're aware of these incredible new developments that are going to be happening close by. One is East Bank, Stratford, and the other is Dagenham Studios in Barking and Dagenham. East Bank alone is going to bring 1.5 million visitors to the park and the surrounding area each year. So what is it? Well, it's going to generate 1.5 billion towards the local economy. It's going to create 2,500 jobs, and what it's going to be made up of are loads of awesome creative brands. These are not only higher education and further education institutes and organisations, but really cool businesses too. For example, Sadler's Wells East, they're going to open a 550-seat theatre and establish a new centre of choreographic practice in Hip Hop Academy. And they're going to be the first of their kind in the country. UAL, London College of Fashion, are going to integrate all of their 6 sites into one campus at East Bank. That's going to accommodate 6,500 students. It's going to be a world-leading research community, business incubation and social enterprise centre. We'll also see UCL. They'll create a new campus called UCL East, and it's going to provide a multidisciplinary research, teaching and innovation area in robotics, smart cities, culture and conservation, and that will include 4,000 students. Other businesses like V&A East are going to be displaying world-famous collections of art, and also there's going to be a new museum at Stratford Waterfront and the V&A collection and research at Here East. The Smithsonian Institution are going to establish a presence in London for the first time ever in partnership with the V&A. Dagenham Studios, the planning is already underway. It's going to be a new state-of-the-art facility for film and TV production, and the planned studios are going to feature around 6 different sound stages. It's going to be huge. So I guess you're thinking, this is all great, Miss Healy, and it sounds really promising, and the organisations and the fact that there's new roles and new work going to be created in the future local to Waltham Forest in the creative sector is awesome. But let's face it, we're currently in a pandemic and all we've heard is really negative press about how hard hit people within the creative industries have been. Yeah, you're completely right, and it has had a massive negative impact on the UK economy too, in particular the creative industries. However, if you think about it, there have been more areas within the creative industry that have potentially had a little spike and a big success because of the pandemic. Take, for example, virtual event management and software that enables virtual meetings. So where there's a downturn, there is always opportunity. And I think that is where you have to have conviction in your ideas, because if you have these good ideas and you're willing to commit to bring them to life, imagine what you could do with a role within a sector and within an industry, whether it's successful and growing or in a current moment of decline. There are current working arrangements across the industry to support people. And yes, let's face it, the figures have been negative, because even in mid-August, most workers within the creative industries remained furloughed. So let's hear about some of the really cool things that the creative industry have been up to during the pandemic. Like that of Burberry and Brewdog, who essentially pivoted their business for the greater good. They changed their production lines from being an alcoholic drinks company and fashion manufacturer and seller into a PPE producer. Personal protective equipment, if you needed to know. I'm sure you've heard the phrase PPE a lot. When it comes to rethinking their business models, these organisations were really thinking of how they could adapt. Oh So Local to You opened up in March 2020. They became a home delivery service of fresh food during the pandemic. Didn't exist before this. Home deliveries are also brought to you by 4 Degrees C Ltd, who were established in 1984, and they supply top eateries throughout London and East London. And because of this, they've got a very new shiny fleet of FORS accredited lorries and are delivering to many different locations. The virtual world has seen us, yes, not be able to go to live music events and gigs and all the different eateries and social hospitality arenas that we're normally used to. But how cool is that? Meerkat Music were able to bring live performances of Take That and Little Mix to us. And also the virtual orchestra have supported young musicians and given them a chance to play as part of an ensemble. It started with 60 musicians and it has now over 3,500 registered participants around the globe. That's cool. Whilst we recognise that we have this sense of deprivation of our culture fixes, and we are so much more acutely aware of this, because bricks and mortar businesses have suffered and continue to throughout this pandemic. Yet e-commerce, as I've mentioned earlier, is booming. We're looking at social media and online streaming services that are tapping us into a different way of getting our culture fixes. And it really paves forward this fourth revolution in terms of technology and the way that we can interact. So with all these changes around us, and not just impacting the creative careers arena, let's ensure that creative success is paved for all of our futures and that we are engaging in learning opportunities. Whether this is you're still at school, you're at college, you're in work, or you're accessing training and learning and education through other routeways. Ultimately, operating creatively offers everybody that outlet, and it builds a base for your skills and your talents to come to life. So, what might the recovery look like for the cultural and heritage sector? Well, these are quite nice numbers, aren't they? 1.57 billion from the government, and 18 million and an extra 2 million for freelance workers from the Arts Council England. So, what I'd like you to do now is take all of that in, think about what has been of most interest to you, and using this worksheet, have a think about what creativity means to you. Use the diagram, write down those 5 things, and then also list 3 creative industry jobs that you believe may be of interest to you. So, next up in the Creative Career tutorial session is we're going to look at local success stories in people and businesses. We're going to find out about what are the local educational routeways into a creative career, as well as professional pathways and how wiggly they can be. What we do know is creativity has no limit on age or any other demographic. We truly hope that this Creative Careers series gets you back involved with the right information and gets you seeking out how you can bring your own creativity to life for the benefit of yourself and those around you.